Hi everyone, and welcome back to my music reaction video. I appreciate you stopping by. And today the song I've chosen to listen to is When Death Calls by Black Sabbath. Now I'm actually really excited to listen to this one because I received this as a suggestion from Mike G 4211, and they said I suggest a lyric video of When Death Calls featuring the great underrated Tony Martin, with a guest solo by Iommi's longtime best friend Brian May from Queen. Um, and the reason I'm so excited for this one is because I've actually never heard a Sabbath track with Tony Martin on vocals before. I've heard, of course, Ozzy and Dio. I'm a huge fan of both of them. A little slight preference to Dio, I'll be honest, but um, I'm really curious to see what Tony Martin era Sabbath was like because I think it's a little swept under the rug because he's kind of up against, Ozzy and Dio. Um, so I'm curious what this is like. And it also mentions it's a guest solo by Iommi's longtime best friend Brian May from Queen, um, who of course I'm familiar with. And there's actually a video clip I've seen in the past where Tony Iommi gets asked who are your favorite guitarists or who do you think are the best guitarists or something like that. And actually Tony names Brian May in that video, which I'll put a little clip of right now.
Well, my friends really. I like Brian May's style of playing. It's a distinctive sort of style. I like guitar players that you can say, oh God, I know who that is. You know, as soon as you hear it, I like that type of player.
So yeah, I think that's really interesting. It's always nice to see like two legends paying respect to each other. Especially someone like Iommi paying respect to Brian May. It's just so amazing. Um, yeah, and it really shows you like how the different music genres cross paths. Like with rock, with Queen, one of the quintessential rock bands, and the godfathers of metal music, Tony Iommi and Sabbath. So honestly, an amazing crossover right there. So I'm really curious to see what this is like. I just get right into it, and in the words of Jeff Walker,
Let's rock.
and I do have the lyrics pulled up for this one as well, as suggested by the commenter. So thank you for the suggestion as well. Wow, what an eerie intro. I'm gonna rewind that. I really like how you can hear the plucking of the guitar strings. It makes it sound like so much more eerie. Um, and then I hear little strings settling in, maybe like a violin coming in. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, you can really hear the fingers. I also noted this in my last Black Sabbath reaction. I really like the human element of Black Sabbath, where you can kind of hear the finger slides or the fingers coming off the fretboard. Um, Black Sabbath, they always kind of kept that stuff in their music, which I really like. It almost sounds like natural harmonics, but I feel like it's not a natural harmonic.
He saw the world dim with the glow of the vertical sun. His skin crept cold, knowing that this was the hours of dying.
Wow, his voice is definitely a lot more different.
Misguided mortals, you burn with me.
Okay, his voice is a lot different than both Dio and Ozzy, I feel like. Interesting. His voice sounds a lot more like a rock vocalist kind of. Um timbre, I guess I would say. I'm not a vocalist by any means, but if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, like it's a lot less harsh. It's very soft vocal style, at least from what I've heard so far. Like it kind of reminds me of the vocalist from Chicago a little bit, or maybe even like Whitesnake. Um, but let me keep listening. Interesting so far. I'm also gonna try to pay attention to the lyrics a little bit more than I usually do with my reactions. Sounds like it's gonna be a ballad, maybe.
Misguided mortals, you burn with me. Spirit of man cannot be flamed. This is the house of dying.
Man, he has such a good vocal control. Again, I'm not a vocalist by any means, so I'm not like one of those vocal teachers that could comment on like his vocal ability, but it sounds so good. Like the vibrato in his voice sounds so good. Right here, nice. Wow. Yeah, so far this track, combined with his vocals, doesn't really feel like a metal song. It feels more like a hard rock ballad a little bit. That's interesting. Wow. Really shows you how much Black Sabbath sound changed over the years. They are definitely like one of those bands that how many years have they been active? Are they still active? I'm not sure actually. But I know they've done reunion tours every once in a while when Ozzy was still around. Wow. Yeah, but they've been around so long, it definitely makes sense that they have so many different styles in their repertoire. Like this is like almost hard rock almost. This looks cool, an album cover by the way. A little Celtic cross right here. Interesting.
Tell me not, fear of the flames means that heaven is closer. For I believe Satan lives in the souls of the dying. Misguided mortals, you burn.
Here's what I'll say about his vocals compared to Dio and Ozzy. Like, I think his vocals, I think with compared to Ozzy, both Dio and Tony Martin's vocals are a lot more expressive. I think Ozzy, he has a very iconic voice, but he kind of stays in his range a little bit. He kind of does what's comfortable, but um, definitely Dio and Tony Martin, um, they definitely, go into much higher registers and kind of go back low again and go back high again, which definitely gives Sabbath a different vibe than their Ozzy era songs. But I will say, I think Tony Martin's voice is a lot softer than Dio's. Dio's, I think he uses more vocal fry, I feel like. At least from what I've heard from his vocals and live performances. Also, apologies if that's the wrong term, vocal fry. I think that's the right term I'm using, but if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. But yeah, I feel like Tony Martin's voice is a lot softer. That's how I would compare the two different voices. Definitely gives Sabbath a different vibe, though.
In the souls of the dying. Misguided mortals, you burn with me. Spirit of man cannot be
songs pick up a little bit here. I was wondering when I was gonna start hearing some more of that Tony Iommi riffage a bit more, because I think before this part, I think it was mainly the highlight of the song was mainly the vocals. Like the guitar was kind of like a backing, but now we kind of hear more of Tony Iommi's iconic riffage here. Sounds like there's a lot of reverb on his guitar tone. Oh wow, that was an amazing guitar solo, by the way. Props to Brian May. Ooh, that was an amazing guitar solo. I haven't heard a lot of Brian May's guitar solos in the past, but of the ones I have heard before, of course, like Bohemian Rhapsody and a couple other Queen guitar solos, that definitely sounds like a very Brian May-esque guitar solo. Like one of his signature, like his bends are very iconic. And then I noticed a lot of his solos, he kind of goes into some very powerful bends, then he goes kind of into a shreddy style back into a bend. So I'm gonna listen to that back. I'm gonna listen to that again. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I love those bands and then back into a shreddy style. Those bands are so nice. Yeah, I noticed like he does these bends and then he kind of goes descending on the fretboard. He kind of does like a descending scale down the fretboard. Nice. And he goes back up into a bend. Nice double slap bends here as well. Sounds so sinister. Oh, and it ends with a fade out. Ending with a fade out with Tony Iommi, I'm guessing, playing the high notes. Pretty cool. Wow. Okay. That was a surprising track for me. Wow. Well, as the commenter mentioned, Tony Martin's vocals are amazing. Amazing. Um, yeah. Wow. Um, now that I'm thinking about it, with the whole vibe of this track being more like a hard rock slash rock kind of vibe to me, more so than metal, it makes sense that they got Brian May on the guitar solo here, to play like a more rock or slash ballady type of song. Wow. Yeah, I'd say the highlights for me were Tony Martin's vocals and Brian May's guitar solo, which is quite surprising because usually I'm raving about Tony Iommi's guitar riffs, but I think he kind of took a backseat this song and let Brian May and Tony Martin shine. But wow. Going back to lyrical content, I tried to pick up what I could, but it seems like it was the typical Black Sabbath imagery of like, of kind of like the devil, Satan. Oh yeah, it's someone like on the verge of dying and he kind of sees Satan before he dies. Yeah. So the typical Black Sabbath imagery, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Iron Maiden's Hallowed Be Thy Name with the dying person, kind of like a story about what the dying person is going to experience and what they see. But it's a little bit different. Like this one's more focused on like what seeing Satan and stuff like that and the devil, whereas Hallowed Be Thy Name is more about like getting hanged, right? But yeah, a really interesting track. Wow. Definitely caught me off guard a little bit. With the whole vibe and aesthetic of the track. I really like the intro as well. With the intro kind of harmonics, I might call them. I'm not sure if they're natural harmonics, but it just sounded so eerie. So it's definitely a good setup for the song, and the rest of the song as well. But yeah, those were my thoughts on the "When Death Calls" by Black Sabbath track. Thank you so much for the suggestion. If you guys have any more Black Sabbath suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, or metal suggestions in general. Um, and I appreciate you watching this video.